welcome back to another episode of the Globalpulse Podcast, where Carlos and I will be discussing social media and the age of influencers on our culture and how it differs between the United States and Spain. I'm going to get it, Carlos.
Today I really like this topic because it's a really update topic, and I think we have a interesting perspective of this topic, so it can be interesting.
Yeah, and just to kick things off, a brief introduction. So in the past ages, like past decades, a lot of the way that we receive information has changed a lot, and nowadays it's more focused on social media, trends, movements on social media that have shaped industries such as the fashion, the beauty industry, political activism, all the way to influencers creating content that drives cultural shifts. We're going to delve deep into each of the social media platforms that have impacted our lives today as we know it, such as Instagram, X, TikTok, everything that we all use on a daily basis, or at least most of us, and how, at least in the United States and Spain, how it's been shaping our culture. The first question that we're going to delve into is how influencers shape consumer behavior and what industries benefit from influencers in each of our countries. So I'll kick it off to you, Carlos, to discuss from a Spain perspective.
Yeah, here I think the most important thing to have in account is that influencers are able to shape the consumer behavior thanks to the confidence the people have on these people on the influencers. This confidence allow them to request their opinion, to buy some products, they get all this information to decide whether they want to buy a product or they want to recommend a product to somebody. So here I think the most important thing is the confidence they have. Companies know this, and they know the power, the really big power they have and the impact and they have on the society. I think nowadays these companies are taking the advantage. They are integrating this kind of new marketing, new way to attract people to buy products or services.
Yeah, I think that's a good word to use, integrating, because the companies had to kind of adapt to a new way of pushing out their products and getting the message out. One thing that's being seen is Gen Z and millennials in particular, those age groups, they're seeing that they're more influenced by influencers, people, regular people who are pushing things out on social media, more so than traditional advertising. And they value the product reviews from the influencers. So I think, yeah, they really had to adapt to a new way of pushing out their brands. And that's seen, like, in the US, I think it's very similar in the US and Spain. It's mostly in the industries of beauty. So you have Kim Kardashian, and fashion, fitness is a really big one, as well as tech and gaming. People are relying more on influencers for recommendations and reviews on what to buy, rather than the traditional advertising you would get in a newspaper or a magazine.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, people's first thing they do before to purchase something is to go to internet, go to some video, some research, and they check it out, and after that they decide which product they want to buy. They have a really big variety of opinions about the product, and nowadays the purchase process is quicker, and I think it's really efficient compared with in the past. I think this process in the past was a bit longer than today.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's just becoming more efficient. And to that point, there's a difference in how influencers are influencing. Now, there's two types of influencers. There's the micro influencers, and then there's the mega influencers. So just to level set on definitions, micro influencers have between 10,000 to 100,000 followers. a smaller but still significant bracket of people that they could reach out to. And then you have the mega influencers, and they have 1 million plus followers. So that's your Kim Kardashians, your Jake and Logan Pauls, your big influencers, and they have pushed different products and have a different set of level of trust with the people that they reach out to. Anything you want to comment on that?
Yeah, you mentioned the micro influencers, and here I want to say that above all, restaurants, small restaurants here in Spain are using the micro influencers to promote some menus or some kind of a product through TikTok or Instagram. And I think this way is being really efficient to attract people. And even in some cases, I watch a video in YouTube or Instagram, and I like the food I see. Actually, I go to the restaurant because I have the need I need to have this product and to try it.
Yeah, it's like that niche market. So they're not pushing the big, like, people who don't live around you wouldn't necessarily be interested in that person, like what their review of that restaurant. It may not be like plausible for them to go to that restaurant, but since they're near you, that's a huge benefit of the micro influencers and having that niche market. Yeah. And
in the US, do you have another example with micro influencers apart from the restaurants or small businesses?
I think food is a big one, like you mentioned, but also travel. So you have local people who check out tourist attractions or things to do. And that's been even better with like Airbnb experiences. You have people who live in the area, know the culture, and so it saves you so much time when you're traveling. You can just watch these micro influencers and see what they're pushing out. And for the most part, it's accurate, and it's better than a mega influencer who may be touching a broad subject and may not be able to give you that specific information that you need, that you're looking for, at least.
Yeah, that's a good point. They also I used to watch travel videos, and the way they share the experience is like they share the good points of the experience, but also they share the mistakes you can have getting the services, in this case the trip, and you can avoid these mistakes. In another way, maybe you will have more mistakes traveling, for example.
Yeah, like tourist traps, if you're familiar with that, the phrase tourist traps. But yeah, that's a good point. And they're also highly trusted. Like, you're more likely to trust someone that's a micro influencer than a mega influencer. But nevertheless, there are a lot of benefits to mega influencers, and they have a different role in the market, I would say, for influencing. They're able to reach massive audiences, and they're also able to set trends better, easier than micro influencers. So micro influencers might be able to give you good recommendations, but mega influencers are setting the fashion trends, setting trends of like eating maybe certain types of food, like a diet in particular. You see mega influencers. I don't know if you've seen a video. There's a guy, I don't remember his name, but he only eats meat, and he's very muscular.
Yeah, I watch it. Yeah, he only had meat, blood, maybe.
Yeah, blood. He eats like a very carnivorous, I think, a diet. But that's an example of a mega influencer. You have people that want to follow his trends, but it's just interesting to see the life he's living.
Yeah,
and also
the way they are able to impact on people is massive, is insane. So they can impact on thousands of people. So here businesses, big companies are taking the advantage.
Yep. Yeah, they're getting the big license deals with, like, instead of doing advertising with like commercials per se, they may hire like Kanye West to push out Adidas products or things like that these influencers play in our economy. So we talked about a lot of is there anything else you wanted to add on that?
Yeah, maybe I was gonna add that here, through this transition, we've seen that a new job was created, an influencer. I think all people, our parents, maybe don't understand this job and how it's really working. Maybe it's a bit difficult to understand. But at the end, I think it's like a job that is creating a new value, and companies are paying for this value. In this case, it is attracting people to get some product.
That's a good point. Yeah, I don't think my parents would understand a lot if I became an influencer.
And what's our grandparents or older people?
Right. Moreover, it's shaping youth culture in particular. So you're seeing, I think, even our age is becoming outdated to how influencers are evolving over time. So is there any way in Spain that we're seeing youth culture in particular be affected, the good and the bad? Because I think there's both in this case with you.
Like, but what do you mean with the last point?
Yeah, so for at least for the US side, I think we're seeing Gen Z in particular, so I guess our age and younger, they're not only using social media just for advertising brands and pushing fitness trends, but they're also using it for political movements. So you see a lot of college students, like with the wars we're seeing in Israel and with Hamas, we're actually seeing influencers jumping into the political sphere and using it for things that are not even just brands, but also like movements, political movements, which is a positive thing.
Yeah, you are right. Yeah, apart from the fashion and food and another kind of services, we can see that lots of political channels in YouTube are being releasing. Yeah, I think people like to get information from different kind of resources. And in these cases, I think these channels show the opinions and information with a bigger freedom to get showing information. I think TV programs are old-fashioned. These kind of programs don't attract young people, so they prefer to go to YouTube and get information. And actually, actually, TV is trying to change this because they are left behind.
Yeah, they're getting left behind.
So they need to be updated soon.
Yeah, I agree. 'Cause we're also seeing people able to use their platforms to bring up topics that may not even be in like the mainstream media, the TV news. One for instance is the Uyghur movement in China. I don't know if it was big in Spain, but there's a population in China of people who essentially are not being treated well by the Chinese government. They're called Uyghurs. I think the word is.
I haven't heard about this.
But that was a big movement in the US almost about a year ago. But it brought the issue into the news. So the news was not covering it, but it was social media and influencers who brought it to the attention. And now the media was forced to cover it on news outlets.
That's a really interesting point about this, that these kind of influencers are covering different kind of topics that TV don't really want to show. The upside of this is that we have more alternatives to choose, and we have different kind of ideologies. Depends of the one you want to follow. It's kind of similar of TV. On the TV you have similar kind of ideologies, left side or right side, and in YouTube as well. So you have the freedom to choose it. But I think the content differ with the TV.
Yeah, they have more flexibility and freedom, I think, influencers. And we've seen some cool trends too that are pushing, I think, both youth culture and political culture is the use of hashtags to create, such as like hashtag climate change or hashtag stop Asian hate. It's like different methods that are created through social media that they're building communities across the world that previously through media you're being told something but you're not able to interact. I think with influencers you're able to receive the message that they're giving, but you're also able to interact with that message more so than we were before by commenting, posting your own videos, using your own platforms, which is really cool.
Yeah, the way you are saying that people is sharing the content, and it's very enrichable. People is agree with a certain theme, can be identified with this. So they share, they interact. I think it's really cool. This.
Yeah. And I think it would be remiss. So there's a huge benefits to influencers and social media, but I think it's worth also mentioning there's some downsides.
Yeah.
One being it's impacting our youth culture a lot by now ever before we're able to see the lives other people are living, but it's not necessarily their true life. You know, you post only your best self on social media. You're not posting
Yeah, exactly.
your
That's
downsides.
completely right.
And that can mess with a lot of people, you know, comparing yourself to other people and thinking that your life should only be good and no bad. I think that's a negative to social media that I think we're seeing in both US, Spain, all over the world.
Yeah, I'd say here is kind of similar in Spain or in US, even around the world. Yeah, I think here the influencers at the end they show the ideal life or the ideal way to live. Above all, young people don't really know what's behind this, and here they can have a frustration because they don't really understand it. Yeah, and here the issue comes from young people above all.
Yeah. And you could receive comments that people are now saying things to you that like they may not say in person. So you're being affected by
Yeah,
negative
exactly.
comments. It's a whole different world that I think youth has to adapt to that
Yeah,
our parents didn't have to.
yeah, it's a different world. And yeah, you mentioned that the comments are completely different in person and from messages. And in some cases, some governments was thinking about the possibility to manage the way you interact on the website, simply using your using your identity card to
Okay.
interact on the website. And maybe if you if you have a felony,
Yep, that's correct.
you have to pay for this, and you will be judged because at the end you are having a felony, and maybe people and don't really know the impact they are having on the website. So maybe in the future we'll see some regulations about this.
Yeah, and that gets to I think our final point. We've been seeing more and more of fake news what they
Yeah.
call, and that's a byproduct of social media. So previously, normally it was only the media, the mainstream like newspapers and magazines and articles who were able to control the narrative, but now it's just regular people like you and I who are able to say whatever we want, and it's not always accurate. It's I think governments around the world are evolving on this issue on regulation and how they could stop the spread of fake news and make social media more
Yeah.
reliable. Is there anything in Spain that the government's doing to make social media more regulated and not as fake?
At this moment, there's quite a freedom here, but some regulations and some laws are coming in the future because now the social media, the impact the social media are having on our lives is quite big. So yeah, maybe in some years we have some new laws. Above all, keeping in mind the content and you are publishing on the website, taking in on account the accurately
Accurate.
is
Yeah.
because you cannot publish not real information at the end. That's
Right.
very dangerous.
Yeah. I think the US and Spain are pretty similar in that, like, right now it's the platforms themselves. So, like, Facebook, X, Instagram, they're setting their own policies, and the government hasn't intervened yet, but they're working towards it. We do have laws specific to elections. So, if there's social media platforms that are pushing out fake things that might influence our elections in the US, we do have laws such as transparency laws to make sure that they're giving information to both sides of the political spectrum. And our we have agencies who are able to intervene. They're able to to go to the court system and challenge claims that are unequivocally false. So it's definitely false. They're able to do that.
Here I think we have a really big challenge, because it will be really difficult to manage these issues, like on a neutral way. Okay, so these agencies, it will be difficult to analyze this information like neutrally, and that's a big challenge they will have.
Yeah. I think it was a really interesting discussion on this, and it's going to evolve over time. I think it's similar to our discussion last episode on AI. Like, social media is still pretty new. We're still adapting to it as a culture. I think we're grasping it, at least in the US and Spain. I would say North America and Europe are very similar in how we're engaging with social media and how it evolves.
Here are quite similar. I think we share a lot of aspects here.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add before I close this out?
Yeah, so far I think it's okay. We've touched a lot of things and a lot of points of view.
Yeah. So just in conclusion, so influencers and social media, they've transformed how people connect, how all of us connect across the globe, whether that be through fashion, through beauty, lifestyle. They resonate across borders. They influence us and they bring us together, whether that be micro influencers or macro influencers. They're impacting all of us at all ages and how we receive our information and how we could participate in bringing our own perspectives to the world. So this is definitely a topic that brings us together, and it's one of the topics that we would love to discuss again in the future. But until the next episode, I think it was a really good discussion.
Okay, see you, Mitchell, in the next episode.
See you, Carlos.
See you.
How do we end it? We just hit leave?
Here.